Look at these buttery layers. You won't believe how fast these scones are to make and put together. Let's get into it. In a large bowl, let's add our dry ingredients. So here I have some flour, some salt, a little bit of sugar to sweeten up the dough. If you want to make sweet scones, just up the sugar at this point. Here we have some baking soda and baking powder. Just gonna take a whisk and run it through to make sure everything is nice and even. Now we're gonna put in some butter. So here I have a stick of cold refrigerated butter. You wanna make sure it's as cold as possible so as it bakes, it can lift and create air pockets so that the scone will be nice and flaky. So I'm just gonna keep a little bit of the wrapper on so I can handle it. I'm gonna grate it with a box grater. Go ahead and just place that in your bowl and then take your butter and grate it on the biggest holes that you can find on it. So we're doing this so we can have fine pieces of butter. If you don't have a box grater, you can just cut this up into little cubes. It might require you to work it a little bit more with your fingers, but having this already grated will allow us to, work it less so that the heat of our hands won't melt it. And then these little pieces we can just break up by hand. So flip this over, try to get all that butter out. Again, let's try to handle this as little as possible. So just with the tips of your fingers, start to coat that butter and make sure that all those pieces are coated so that it's individual. And then as you're doing that, start to break it up even further so they can be finer pieces. So you can just rub it between your fingers and your thumb. All right, so once it resembles a course meal, you can stop. Now we're gonna combine the sour cream with the egg. So here I have some sour cream, just place that in a bowl and then let's crack in one egg. And now you're gonna wanna mix this together until it's well incorporated and even. All right, that looks good. So let's just pour this right into the flour. I'm just gonna give it a stir and try to stir it really gently, keeping everything pretty loose. Once most of our flour is incorporated, I'm gonna add in some other ingredients. So here I have some grated cheddar cheese. Here's some nice crispy bacon. And now let's add in some chives. So I like to cut mine with scissors just because it's super easy. And now we just keep mixing. Don't worry if it looks a little bit like crumbly. We're gonna press it in together to make our disc. So now I'm just gonna set this aside and go in with my hands. So try to scoop it and gather it all up to one side of the bowl and start pressing gently and quickly, again, because you don't want your hands to warm up this dough. Once you get your dough into one big ball, we're just gonna place it on your surface of your countertop. So before you do that, you wanna dust it with flour to make sure that it's not gonna stick. So I like to take the flour and just kind of flick my wrist so that it creates a nice even layer. Now we can grab our dough, place it right on, and I'm gonna shape it so it's nice and round. And now I'm gonna press it until it's about 3/4 of an inch tall. And as you press it, if it cracks, all you have to do is kind of push it back together. All right, so this looks pretty good. It's a nice circle. And now we're gonna cut it so that we have the classic wedge scone shape. So to do that, I'm just gonna grab a bench scraper. You can also just use a sharp knife. I'm gonna cut it in half, just like that. Make sure as you cut it, you wiggle your bench scraper back and forth to separate the pieces. Now we're gonna cut it in half this way, and half this way, and then cut each of those in half. Let's arrange these onto a baking sheet. I like to alternate the way that they're facing just so they can fit. All right, so now we're gonna add some grated cheese and sprinkle it right on top so it can brown. As you can see, this came together so quickly. Nothing needs to come to room temp or anything. You just take it straight out of the fridge. So if you're hungry early in the morning, you can whip this up in 10 minutes. All right, let's get these in the oven. They're gonna go in a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 17 minutes. These smell so good. While they're still warm, I'm just gonna hit it with some salt and then some black pepper. And of course, a little bit of chives. I'm gonna allow these to sit for about 5 minutes to cool and then we can enjoy them. Look how amazing these look. And they really took no time at all. I'm gonna break into one now. Oh my goodness. It's amazingly tender, buttery, and flaky. Let's give it a try. It's so good. The flavors of the cheddar, chive, and bacon really shine through, and the crust is nice and crispy, and these are gonna be the perfect scones to make for breakfast or brunch. I hope you get a chance to try these out yourself. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to Allrecipes for more videos like this, and comment below on what you wanna see next. Thanks, bye guys.
Just say scones.
Scones. Scones. Scones.
No, I mean like.
What?
Because we didn't say what it was. Look at these scones.